Hello there, it's Marie from Just French It, and today we're talking culture. Culture in language learning, because yes, grammar, knowing how the language works is important, but it is just mechanics, and I believe that what makes you and I connect, or what could make you and I connect, is culture, is common interest. Culture allows you to touch people, to create connection, and that's why culture is equally as important as grammar when it comes to language learning. Because you can have the most perfect grammar and not being able to connect with anyone. Like a very technical musician who's unable to convey feelings through music. And what you could actually do, you could just know one thing about French culture, and I'll tell you a story in a minute about that, and be able to connect with a French person. Yet you can have the most perfect grammar and just not reaching out to people. So the story I wanted to tell you is this one. I was speaking with this person a few months ago, and I didn't share her story with you just yet, so I'm doing it now because I think that's really, really important. It's a good example of how culture is equally, if not more, important than grammar when it comes to languages. So this person, she's Australian, she's in France on holidays for the summer. And even though her French is not perfect, she's able to speak in French. She's staying in this Airbnb and there she is. But she's very upset because her French, or at least it appears that her French is not touching people. She's not able to actually speak with people. You know, she can do grammatically correct sentences, ask a few questions, but it stops there. So she's there, she's very upset because, you know, she's in France for 2 months and, well, it's not going so well. Plus, she's starting to doubt herself, so she's starting to have trouble speaking as well because her confidence isn't boosted by French people replying to her. But here's the thing. After the 2 months, when she left, at the end of the summer, she had lots of French people telling her that they wanted her to stay at theirs next time she comes. What she did is, surprisingly, even though she had those problems at the beginning, she made friends out of French people. How amazing is that, right? So how did she do that? Because, you know, her level of French didn't suddenly change. She didn't suddenly become fluent. She didn't suddenly understand French tenses or how to place the vowels in her mouth. She did actually one single surprising thing. Are you ready? Because it's huge. It's huge. It's so simple. It's so huge. She started mentioning that she liked a certain French singer, Joe Dassin. It doesn't really matter who he is. If you don't know him, maybe you can check him out. But this simple thing, just mentioning that she liked a certain French singer who's not necessarily well known abroad, well, this simple thing got her from a status of a person who's learning French and wants to speak to me because I'm a native, to a potential friend because she has common interests, the same interests as me. And there are topics that we can talk about that are actually interesting. And let me tell you, well, I don't know about you, but I want to speak to the second kind of person, to the potential friend, not necessarily to the person who's learning French, even though, you know, I'm interested in that too because I'm a teacher. But and I'm sure it's the same for you, right? You would rather talk with someone you have common interest with, right? So you see, it's as simple as that. It's not all about grammar. It's not all about the language, the mechanics and vocabulary. And it's mainly about culture. Because I'm sure that you are not learning French to be able to say things in French. I mean, that's not the point. You could say them in English. It would be the same, more or less. But what you really want to do if you are learning languages is connect, is meeting people. It's learning about things. If not, I mean, there are other benefits to learning languages, but if not, maybe learning a language is not the best of ideas. Either way, now that you know that, and I really want you to realize that, is that please don't put aside culture as being less important, and don't just, brush on the cliche of a country's culture. Immerse yourself in the culture, maybe even more than in the language. You can do that through movies, you can do that through books, through the internet, through talking with people and actually asking questions. Because, if you are meeting a native that's on a language learning website, for example, I'm sure he or she would be super glad to talk about French culture. There might be stuff that they don't know, it doesn't matter, but So, yes, do that. Immerse yourself in the culture, maybe even more than in the language. And I'm sure you will be able to connect with people much more easy. As for me, I want to hear your opinion on the subject in the comments or wherever. You can send me an email as well. I reply to all my emails. And I'll see you next week for another épisode on Just French It. À plus!